Leah Remini and Jennifer Lopez are reuniting as friends post-divorce filing. We're going to talk about the new Netflix movie, The Uglies, and how I think that relates to Scientology, and so much more on today's recap. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Natalie, and this is Scientology Life After a Cult. Big hello to everybody in the live chat. It is so great to be here with you all today. Thank you to the members for being here, and your continued support means a lot. And a huge mahalo to the moderators who are always helping us keep the wheels on the bus. We are ready to get into a whole bunch of stuff. Ooh, Scientology Up North is here. I'm glad because we're going to be talking about you. Yes, we are. And Afila, we're going to be talking about you too. So let's get into this stuff. And later on in the video, we're going to get into The Uglies, the new Netflix movie. And I read the book and I have thoughts about it. And if any of you read the book, saw the movie, you liked it, or you didn't like it, stick around at the end because we need to talk about it. And I really want to get your take, especially those of you never in Scientology, to see if you can see some similarities in that. Ooh, Farrell Cheryl's here. We are ready to just get this party started. Okay, let's start off with a little funny. This is an oldie but goodie, but once in a while I like to pull these things up because they just make me smile, and I need all the smiles and laughter I can get at the moment. So this was when I could not believe that he did this. It was so funny. When Jerry O'Connell parodied Tom Cruise's crazy Scientology video, you guys remember? The one with the black turtleneck and the that one. Tom Cruise and Scientologists are the only ones that can help if you get into a car accident. That one. Oh, it was so funny. But let's look at this because it just makes me laugh every time I see it. And a few of you sent it. I just love it.
It's a privilege to be an actor. You can just know that someone else is an actor just by looking at he or she, because actors usually are not working. It is a privilege to be an actor because you know that you really are no help to anyone. I wish I could go on vacation. I wish I could just go and romp like everyone else. But I can't.
Because if you remember, Tom Cruise did actually talk about how he can't go on vacation. He can't be having time off and stuff. Tom Cruise is saving the planet, you guys. Did you not know? Especially now that my shoulder is no longer to that wheel. I'm sure he misses my help. Oh gosh, I just love that so much that he did that. Now, talk about another blast from the past. And this one is you can take you way back. And a couple of days ago, we were talking, there was a little bit of talk in the chat about L. Ron Hubbard's oldest son and the testimony that he delivered way back when. I think it was in 1982. So we're going to look at a clip from 1982, the Clearwater Scientology hearings. And this is L. Ron Hubbard's son, Ron DeWolf, because he changed his name on account of L. Ron Hubbard being his dad. I mean, how bad does it have to be that you're gonna get rid of the name? Early on, too. Early on, wasn't like it was way later when it was so much more generally accepted that, oh yes, of course Scientology is a cult. I mean, there are people that thought that in the early days, but the internet and the way that news travels today has really changed. So let's just take a little look at this because some of you might not have seen this. And when, you got your kid out there being like, hey, this is a scam, because Ron DeWolf, L. Ron Hubbard's son, was involved in Scientology at one point. So this was big news at the time.
I said he was never wounded or blinded. He is attributed to his great powers and because he has had this fantastic educational background. Would you like to go into how far in college did he indeed go and what degrees does he have?
He spent a few months, as far as college is concerned, at George Washington University. And one of the major points that he has said that he has a degree in engineering. At one point, there was a degree in nuclear engineering. Now, of course, that changed.
I just love it that he basically was calling his own dad on. I'm like, no. He lied about that whole war thing. Here's the actual truth. He lied about his education. Here's the actual truth. And from other people too, they've come out with receipts to actually prove that L. Ron Hubbard was lying. Now, in Scientology, you might be wondering, and maybe you're not, why all the effort to create this narrative around who L. Ron Hubbard was? It's all part of the propaganda for the mind control to work. You have to believe this narrative of perfection. In Scientology, it's never talked about that L. Ron Hubbard had other children and earlier relationships, a wife. I think he had another wife and a baby mama, because technically they were married, but not married because he was still married to somebody else or something like that. I lose track of the man's wives, but you get the point. It's just this, and this was 1982. So Scientology created this magazine series. What was it called? Was it called like the Ron series? Do you guys remember? It was like Ron the Writer, Ron the Explorer, every magazine. Ron the Tomato Grower, Ron the Window Washer. I don't know. There was one for all of these Ron things to combat the truth that was coming out from his own family about who he really is and what he did. But in Scientology, we never knew any of that because we were never allowed to look. We weren't allowed to read a magazine that somebody was in where they were speaking out about Scientology. Absolutely not. Or watch it on television. We were indoctrinated to close it up, put it aside, turn it off, not listen to it. Sitting at defense, Ron the moron. We should make him now. Be like Ron the cult leader. Ron, the toothpaste avoider. Eat more pizza now. You're killing me. Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay, I'm just distracted and laughing at your hilarious comments. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Ron the what? If you could write a magazine about L. Ron Hubbard, what would it be called? I would love to see it. And if you're catching this on the replay, go ahead and jump in those comments. I will go back and read them and check them out. Okay, now let's take a look at a spotlight that 7 News Spotlight did, where they actually showed some Scientology auditing. You may have seen this before. We're looking at it today to really give you an inside look. Frankly, I was shocked when this news story was done that Scientology let them in. They're in, I think it was in Australia, to actually film and see what was like, see them doing their Scientology in the course rooms. I'm telling you, you guys got to see this. Mama's Life, Ron the Destroyer. I like that. That's a good one. James, I expect a ton of them from you, James Steele, Ron the Space Monkey, Ron the Complete Muppet. Okay, keep them coming, but I do have to move on to this next story. 7 News Spotlight. We're going to take a look at this, and I'm going to tell you what's going on and what you're looking at. Get ready the curtain is pulled back. You are walking in a Scientology organization, and you get to see how the donuts are made.
Squeeze the cans, please.
Mr. Hubbard discovered that there was a hidden part of the mind that actually hadn't been fully researched, and it took modern science to sort of get to that.
Now, those are the clay demos that we do in Scientology. You have to show a concept that you can demonstrate it in clay, making clay figures to show it, and that shows that you understand it. That's what that's about.
In this part of the mind is recorded all.
Did you see that side eye when the guy looked up?
Painful incidents.
That is a demo kit. Now, you can use anything in a demo kit, and demo kit is short for demonstration kit. It's just a bunch of odds and ends that you use to act out beliefs and things in Scientology. So like one piece can represent one person and the other one can be the other person, and you move the pieces around. It's like playing with dolls, except you do it with these individual pieces. That's actually kind of a cute demo kit.
Memories that a person has ever had.
Although some of those look like crystals, and that would be another practice. So, ooh, somebody should have gotten in trouble for that in Scientology.
I guess you could say you have people.
It's very scientific.
Looking for.
It's very scientific. Didn't know if you guys knew that. Scientology, very scientific.
From the outside, say, look, this is a bit crazy.
Well,
you know.
But they're just not informed.
And they had elected a fellow by the name of Zenu to the supreme ruler, and they were about to unelect him, and he took the last moments he had in office.
So they go right into the Zenu stuff, right? And you're like, okay, well, surely, how do they respond to that? They basically don't. But look at this. Here's the part I want to show you.
Areas in the room.
They're in a course room, a Scientology course room. I guarantee you they forced a ton of people in there to fill the seats because they knew the news program was coming.
Can you explain that?
That one is called the objective processes. And what
Also known now as the survival rundown.
they are is it's very important for a person to be in present time and to be in good communication.
So she's
U.S.
being,
Army Corps of Engineers, they have...
Hold on. She's being told basically to walk over to that wall, touch that wall. Do you see that e-meter? Walk over to that e-meter, touch that e-meter. And you do this for hours, hours, hours. I can remember doing this. I must have been a teenager the first time or when I started it. And I remember hating it. It was so just repetitive, but you basically have to come up with some type of win or realization to make it stop. So, the first couple times it's kind of fun. You're optimistic. Oh, walk over to that wall. Yes, I will touch it. I'll touch it. And so on and so on. But yeah, it quickly falls apart because then you're like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do to make this stop? What is the end phenomena, as it's called in Scientology? What is the realization I need to have to make it stop? Because in Scientology, if you act like you like it, it goes faster. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Many of us learn from a young age to write the most amazing success stories because then it would guarantee that we wouldn't have to go back and redo what we did, often at our own expense. That's a good one too. Ron the addict. Yep. Ron the famous angel dust user. Ron the Ruma. You guys are hilarious. Okay, what is also hilarious that I love seeing is, at the blue buildings where the big Scientology sign is in Los Angeles, and how people go by there to take pictures, and not because they're all, yay, Scientology. It's more like, here I am in front of the Scientology cult. Ooh, cue spooky music. I mean, the whole thing. Well, who's sitting outside there a lot lately? Tori Magoo, 44, and she has been kind enough to help these people take their photos in front of Scientology and to also let them know where they can find out more about the truth about Scientology and why it's a human trafficking cult. This is actually from Confident Chris from his stream.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's good. I like it. Congrats. You guys win officially fair game. Zenu.net. Okay.
I love how Tori lets it, tells them even a website, tag this website in your photo.
Put it on Instagram, put I love Scientology.
It's just so funny to me, and I love it, and I love that people are doing that. And I can't help but wonder what goes through the heads of the security guards as they're watching on camera, and these people are showing up and taking these selfies in front of the Scientology building to make fun of it. It's so great. It's so great. I need to go to LA. I have not been back to Los Angeles since I left Scientology. So I've not been back to the blue buildings. It is on my list. It's on my list to protest. I have not been back there, but I want to. Hey, Eric Rader, I thought I saw you go zooming by there. Okay, speaking of Tori Magoo, let's take a little look here. I think I've got a video queued up from Tori. Let's take a peek.
Cool. Hi, Gina. Do you think Scientology's stance on illness caused Jet and Kelly to pass away?
So this person's asking Tori what her thoughts are when John Travolta lost his son Jet and then lost his wife Kelly Preston. Is Scientology in any way responsible, or did they contribute to their death? And I think what Tori says about this is kind of interesting. Listen.
Not so much. Well, probably both of them. Yeah, I do. Because Jet for sure, because he had autism and probably epilepsy too. But I know from experience, they're just absolutely insane on that. And I watched John for years. I knew he had something. I didn't know what for a while, but he'd go on, the Tonight Show, and he'd carry Jet, and he never talked about him. And I thought, that's not like John. It just isn't. And anyway, so I talked to the nannies later, and he wasn't getting medicine, and he was eating sugar and watching TV.
And I believe Tori has talked about, because if you don't know, Tori herself has epilepsy and she's been on medication for it. And when she was in the Sea organization, she was taken off of her medicine, and then she had to fight to be put back on it. And interestingly, what she's saying is based on her conversation with the nannies for Jet, that he wasn't taking medication for those seizures and was eating a lot of sugar and watching television, which are things that in the world of with epilepsy and seizures that Tori says are, I don't know a ton about it, but she has said she's been told are helpful to, not have too much screen time and not have too much sugar because of the inflammation and stuff in your body. I just thought that was interesting. That was very interesting. How would they see that today too? I wonder, when your John Travolta is still a Scientologist in good standing, and we may never know how he really sees it or what he thinks about it, but I am curious about it. I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to stop being curious about it. Let's take a look now at Heli Gear, who educated these people at what looks like this could be a flea market. It could be a book fair. I'm not sure exactly where this person is, but letting people know about Scientology.
From her parents, housed like an orphan at a ranch doing heavy duty labor.
Sounds like she's talking about Beyond Belief, Jenna Miscavige's book.
No schooling, watching themselves. Yes.
No
and
education.
It's all from, and they just got Scientology courses. Oh, they do this thing called touches. Separated from her parents, housed like an orphan at a ranch doing heavy.
It's just so great. I love that she's sharing that. And I just love the passion too. And I say this all the time, and I don't think I will ever stop saying it. The amount of gratitude and appreciation that and I know many others in this ex-Scientology community have for those of you never in Scientology, but all in on ending this cult is tremendous, truly. And seeing people go out and educate the public, educate people outside of Scientology orgs about the truth about Scientology is incredibly heartwarming. Haggis Basher, I'm going to start reading Jenna's book this weekend. Nice. I'm listening to it on Audible. I read it a long time ago, and hearing about her time at the ranch and what that was like. I mean, it's heartbreaking, but it's so interesting to look at it through Jenna's eyes, where that's all that she knew. And it's just really interesting. It's very well written. Now let's go take a look at Afila did a video here talking about not cool, Tom Cruise, not cool. There's a report out in the underground bunker about Tom. We've talked about this before, has a tendency to use Sea Org members who have dedicated 1 billion years to forwarding the aims of Scientology for $47 a week. But those people get used to basically take care of him and his needs, because there's this belief in Scientology that you're supposed to flow power to power. And Tom Cruise is seen as one of the most powerful forces in Scientology. So what does that mean? That means that Scientology and Scientologists need to help him, despite the fact that he could financially afford to pay people to do this. No, let's get a bunch of people who gave up their entire lives, livelihood, families, ability to have children, and have them redoing your airplane hangar, because that's a good use of their time. That goes a long way in clearing the planet, right? Said nobody ever. So let's take a look at this clip. I love this.
Tom has for years used his church to torture his employees by sending them in for interrogations at their expense, causing a woman I know to go bankrupt simply because the hours she worked for Tom made it impossible for her to raise her family. She was interrogated and punished by her church for years. That's a church? Causing her to lose her home. These are some of the things Tom has done but never get talked about.
So forcing interrogations on your own employees and people at their own expense, that is so Scientology. That is Tom Cruise being a Scientologist right there completely. Of course, they should have to pay for their own interrogations and security checks, right? Even though it's because they work for you? Like, what is the deal? What is the connection there? Great job on that video. Link down below to all of the things we're talking about, so you can go ahead and check them out. Check them out for yourself as well. Okay, let's go talk about Scientology Up North. We've got a few clips to look at. Scientology Up North was on my channel not that long ago, sharing all of the good news coming out of Denmark. There is another book out. There are more people speaking out. Their government is actually taking a look. They are getting response. And I asked her in the interview, like, why do you think it's so different in Denmark versus in the United States? Why is it so much harder for us to get our elected officials to do anything, where it seems like you have people over there like, oh yeah, that's a cult, let's do something about this? And she had said that there, the government set up differently in that they don't have like fundraising and or where a private interest can't, donate a bunch of money. They don't take money that way. So they can, they're not as likely to be bribed or pushed in the direction of a special interest. And I thought, that makes sense. I could see how that would be helpful in trying to combat Scientology. I also love that she and L. Ron Hubbard cult get together. We've seen them out protesting together. And here, let's take a peek at a conversation they recently had.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to handle me?
Handle you?
Yes.
That is really funny, because to handle in Scientology, in case, I'm assuming this is the context in which they're speaking of, and I think Miriam's here, she could tell me if I'm getting it wrong. It's like you basically nullify the person, you take care of them so they're no longer doing whatever it is you don't want them to do, or that they are now doing what you want them to do. So you handle them. You're always having to handle people in Scientology. You're either handling somebody or you're being handled. But yeah, Miriam let him know. Nope, she's not being handled.
No,
you can't handle me.
No, because I was the troublemaker, so
yeah,
I never wanted to handle anybody. Like, who cares? You do whatever you want. I do whatever I want. So
yes.
No, I did not want to handle you.
No. Okay, good to know.
But I could handle.
They're so funny. You got to watch the whole thing. They kind of go back and forth on this. Okay, she says, yeah, that's right. I don't know what Hub Cult thought. Oh, it was so funny. So let's take a look at another clip where they're sharing some information of what is happening there.
Basically, we've been working for the last couple of weeks on a letter or an email template similar to the revoke Scientology's tax exempt status in the States. But instead, we have been preparing a letter template to be sent to the Danish politicians. So if you don't want to prepare your own email or write something, whatever you wish to write yourself, we have a template letter that we are preparing, and it's going to be ready to go soon, that you can send to any Danish parliament member. We are also providing the list of all the members of parliament, because
keep an eye out for that. They're doing the same thing that we're doing here in the United States, where if you go to SPTV.SPACE, and in the description of this video, there is a link that will take you right there to the page where you can find your elected official. There's a form letter that you can work from, and it tells you who to CC if and when you get a response, because those responses are being tracked. So we do know where each of these elected officials stand when it comes to investigating Scientology and their human rights abuses. And of course, most importantly, their tax exempt status. So do check that out. I link it in pretty much every video if you've not done it already. And even if you look and you see, oh, that person has already responded in my district, still send it, because it's about the numbers, the number of people. And this is where we're getting so much more help with the so many people who are here and watching our videos and hearing these stories, who can reach out and do this in all these different states and districts. So please do check that out when you got a chance. All right, let's now, oh, you know what? I got one more clip from Scientology Up North. Let's take a look at this.
And then today there came a new podcast out. I was actually listening to it earlier when I was working. It's a politician who has been a member of the parliament for many years. I think he was not elected this time, but he's doing a podcast that is called Not a Word About Politics. So he's doing podcast interviewing different people, and Robert was there today, and he was also giving him a little promotion on him.
So Robert Dam, he's written now 2 books on Scientology, and Scientology Up North recently did an interview with him. I know I want to chat with him. You'll probably see him on multiple channels sharing his experience. So yes, we love Denmark. And I love that you guys are still coming up with the names for the Ron Mags. Ron, the Psycho of Science. That's a good one. The Psycho of Science. All right, let's take a look now at, we're going to look at a video from Growing Up in Scientology. Aaron shared some photos of kids in the past at the cadet org or the ranch, and he talks about the different places that were set up for the kids at that time in the Sea organization. And we're going to go over a couple of these points that he makes.
The ranch, they called it the Pack Ranch. Children of Sea Org members at Scientology's international base out in Gilman Hot Springs, California, that was called the Int Ranch. Children of Sea Org members in Clearwater, Florida, they just called it the Cadet Org. They didn't call it a ranch here. Because, by the way, the Cadet Org was at a hotel, the QI. Scientology had bought a hotel. It was an old Quality Inn hotel, so they just called it the QI. And that was the quote-unquote ranch here in Clearwater, Florida. Abuse of these children was rampant at all 3 of those locations. That doesn't include the locations in the UK. I'm not specifically aware of there having been a similar ranch down in Sydney, Australia, but I wouldn't be shocked if there were one.
And this really goes to, his video is about the importance of really understanding why it's so necessary to have these conversations about what happened in the cadet org at the ranch and what's bringing, there are different things that happen. For example, one thing bringing it to the forefront right now is Emily Armstrong being part of Lincoln Park. You guys know all about that, and her time at the actual, when she was in the cadet org and what happened. And we're going to take a look at let's look at another clip, then we'll talk about this.
Nobody's criticizing Emily for ever having believed in Scientology. No one's criticizing Emily for having parents who believe in Scientology. It has to do with the abuse, particularly the abuse of kids. Emily was there. Emily knows about it. That's why this subject continues to be discussed. Okay, so here we have Emily. Here's another shot of Emily with a guy that I was in the Sea Org with. I was also friends after we left the Sea Org, named Brandon Orlando. I'm trying to remember how much younger Brandon is than me.
So simply put, I would agree with that. It's not so much even about beliefs unless those beliefs are destructive or harmful to other people. And Scientology, one of the main things we talk about is their disconnection policy and how that destroys families and destroys relationships. That is the tip of the iceberg. And you kind of have different people looking at this whole thing from so many different perspectives that it's quite fascinating, because you have people who are looking at it from the ex-Scientology community who stance seems to be, hey, you saw it, you were there. Where do you stand on it today? Where do you stand on Scientology today? Are you still supporting Scientology and their human rights abuses? What is the deal? And then you have Lincoln Park fans, which are like, hey, having somebody who seemingly is a Scientologist, a practicing Scientologist, a Scientologist in good standing, who looks to appear to support the actions and the activities of Scientology just by not saying anything about it, not saying, no, I don't support that anymore. Or even, you know what, I am a Scientologist, but I don't support that. Or I am a Scientologist and I stand by everything that happened. It's just people looking for answers in that way from these different communities. But I would agree, it's not about, there are beliefs in Scientology that are not harmful. It's not that every single thing in it, it's just the majority of the practices and the focus and the things used to control people to then, expand Scientology, which, by the way, how is that working for you? I don't think that it is, yet they continue to continue with the same abusive behaviors, because Scientology is based on the teachings and dictates of a madman, L. Ron Hubbard, who was a science fiction writer and used to be in a sex cult with Jack Parsons. So come on, What do you think it's going to be? How do you think it's going to be? It's only going to end one way. Truly, it's only going to end one way with Scientology. Eat more pizza now. Thank you and hip hip hooray for donating 5 Scientology Life After a Cult memberships. I appreciate that so much. Memberships help out the channel a ton, and thank you. Me and Taz, Natalie, when's your book coming out? Oh, I'm working on it. I'm behind. I committed to a certain amount of words a day and a week. I guess, you know what? It's not. Oh, something just fell over. Hold on. Let's put things back together. Oh, I get so excited. You would think like I'm Italian with the amount of talking that I do with my hands. Okay, so anywho, where are we at? Let's go over now and look at this other video. Same thing, same video from Growing Up in Scientology, because this was a good point too in how Scientology is really all about the victim blaming and how that traps people in this vicious circle and cycle to just blame the victims and make them feel like, well, what did you do to pull this in? Because that's a Scientology belief.
We were exposed to this concept in the Danny Masterson trial, where Danny Masterson's victims who went to the Scientology ethics officer and said they were raped by Danny Masterson, instead of saying, oh my God, that's horrible, please tell me everything that happened and let's make sure you go to a doctor and all this stuff, they were basically blamed for having had that happen to them and were put through study programs and auditing programs to make sure they really, really, truly understood that it was their fault. Sure, it was Danny's fault too, but it was equally their fault. And this is like a victim blaming, victim shaming. I mean, this is the culture of Scientology.
And that is very, very true. Many of us have shared our own personal experiences with that. The biggest experience I had, or I would say the most traumatic experience I had with this, was when I was a Sea Org member and was sexually assaulted. And Scientology covered it up. I wanted to leave the Sea organization. I wanted to leave. And what they told me was, if you stay quiet about this, if you say nothing, you can leave and we will not make you do the routing form to leave the Sea Org. Of course, I took that opportunity. For one, I wasn't even processing the trauma that had happened to me. It would literally be 20 years before I would. I put it in a box as I was trained to do in Scientology, and I compartmentalized it and I moved on from it. And you know what? That stuff doesn't go away. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it comes out sideways. And when I finally told the truth about it and I told my mother what happened to me, my mother left Scientology. That was the final straw for my mom, was hearing what happened to me and how Scientology covered it up and the deal that they cut me to make it go away. Talking about it now, though, aren't I? So that is definitely a huge part of the trap of that Scientology mindset, is the victim blaming, because you believe that it's your fault, because that means if it's your fault and you're responsible, you caused it. So this is what's really important to understand with this Scientology belief, okay? It's not just victim blaming. The belief is that you caused it to happen, because in Scientology, it is the only thing, in fact, it's worse to be a victim. Being dead is better than being a victim in Scientology. It's on their emotional tone scale. Being a victim is the worst thing that you could do. It's just not part of the Scientology mindset. So it's this twisted thing of, well, I'm taking responsibility for what happened to me because I'm not a victim. I don't want to be a victim. So yeah, of course I did something to pull that in. Of course I was somehow cause over it. That doesn't help when you were completely a victim and you didn't do anything to deserve it, to cause it to happen. None of that. This is still happening in Scientology today. The victim blaming, when things like this happen every single day when it comes up. Whether they were Sea Org members, whether you're a Scientology public person, you're a staff member, it is part of the culture and it is damaging. And it is causing a countless number of unnecessary pain for a lot of people. Because what happens is they compartmentalize it and they don't actually deal with the trauma or the abuse. They just sit in that there's something they must have done to make it happen. And I'm going to tell you, as a victim at the time, it felt better to believe that. I rather have believed that there's something I did, put me at cause over it. And my ex-Scientology friends, you guys will understand what I'm talking about. And this might sound completely insane, because it is, to my friends who were never in Scientology. That felt better than being a victim, because from childhood, I was indoctrinated to believe the worst thing I could be is a victim. And you're just never going to be, you're just always going to be a victim. All right. So now that we got past that, let's see. Let's now look at a clip from Penguins Zero. Moist Critical here on YouTube has a huge channel and just dropped a video about Lincoln Park Emily Armstrong. Let's just hear what he has to say from his perspective.
Anyway, though, Emily Armstrong comes into the picture because she was called out by Cedric Bixler Zavala, who brought to light the fact that she is a Scientology member who showed up to the Danny Masterson early hearing as part of a group, basically as like an intimidation tactic. It certainly isn't the best thing to be learning about this new vocalist who's replacing a beloved singer. And it's left fans very upset. I'm not going to dive too deep into everything that's come out about all of that. However, Emily Armstrong responded with a post about it where she said that she misjudged Danny Masterson. She, regrets doing that and doesn't support it. However, she didn't utter a peep about Scientology. That word was like Voldemort to her, which is really weird because it's not like that wasn't related, because that was kind of the whole reason that she was there, apparently. So I don't know why she wouldn't talk about that at all.
Yep, that is the big question. And I've been watching a lot of the coverage from these really large channels here on YouTube who are talking about it. And it's interesting to me how it doesn't make sense to them. And it doesn't make sense because it's irrational, because it is Scientology. And the way that Scientology does things and tries to keep things secret and under wraps it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Oh, we got another one. Ron the Alien Bomb. Ron the Writer. That was another one of those dumb magazines, I swear. Okay, let's talk about a bit of Jennifer Lopez, Leah Remini news. So, Leah Remini files for divorce. Jennifer Lopez files for divorce. They start hanging out again. At least this is all I'm going off of, is the gossip that's in the media. So before, apparently, they were a bit on the outs because Leah Remini was like not down with her marriage to Ben Affleck. And it affected their friendship, but now they're being reunited. Jennifer Lopez reportedly reunited with pal Leah Remini and bonded over their respective divorces, which kind of makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Wow, is that Jennifer Lopez? She looks tiny there. Okay, former friends Jennifer Lopez and Leah Remini have reportedly reconnected, putting aside their longtime feud as they both go through their respective divorces. The two actresses, who were once inseparable pals, allegedly had a falling out over Lopez's romance with Ben Affleck, as Remini feared he was selfish and not fully committed as a partner. I mean, and let's be real, from basically what we've heard, she was right about that. The two actresses, who were once inseparable, we read that. Leah Remini and her husband, Angelo Pagan, recently announced that they were going their separate ways, explaining they had both changed but would remain best friends. So I think this is actually kind of interesting in having them back together as friends, especially post-divorce. I've always wanted to know, and I've not gotten an answer to this anywhere, did you guys know that Jennifer Lopez's father is a Scientologist, was a Scientologist, as far as I know, still is? And that just never seems to really come up much. So I'm curious now that they're back in the good graces, because I would imagine that if Jennifer Lopez's father was still a Scientologist and she was on the outs with Leah Remini, that would make the dad happy and that would make Scientology happy. Well, now that Ben Affleck is out of the picture, now they're getting back together as friends. And honestly, I'm happy for them because it sounds like they've been friends for a very long time. And I'm glad that they are back together with this. And we'll see what happens as things move forward for both of them in this new this whole new time in their lives. Let's see. Okay, so Mrs. Bramlett is saying, yes, her dad has been a Scientologist since the 1980s. Ooh. Yep. Interesting. That's what I've heard too. That's what I've heard. Let's see. Does that mean we might start having a stable of former Sciento celebs? Yes, I think we already do, and we're getting there. More and more, it is not the same anymore with Scientology. And people who have been under the radar for, some of them for a long time, and under the radar basically means that they're kind of playing along to maintain their good status in Scientology because of family or business connections, but they actually are no longer active in Scientology, because you can still be a Scientologist in good standing and not be a practicing Scientologist. So this is how Emily Armstrong can be in good standing with Scientology, and they will use her as saying she's a Scientologist and try to use her to recruit people into Scientology. I mean, my gosh, Tom Cruise dated, oh my gosh, Shakira. Went on a couple dates with Shakira. And at the Hollywood Testing Center, they're telling people that Shakira is a Scientologist who uses this technology. All he did was date her. So you can only imagine what would happen from there. But to be a Scientologist in good standing, even if you aren't practicing Scientology, you aren't regular going on course, or you aren't getting Scientology auditing, you cannot say anything shady about Scientology. You cannot throw any shade, or it'll put that status at risk. And the only reason someone would want to maintain that good standing with Scientology is because they fear family disconnection or losing their friends, or maybe it's their job. So we're gonna see what's happening there. I don't know. It doesn't matter. JLo's dad will be forced to disconnect from her due to Leah's friendship. I don't know. He didn't before. As far as I know, he didn't before. So now that they're friends again, I don't know. Because you got to remember, when it suits Scientology, they do bend the rules a bit. This is how we know Tom Cruise could have had a relationship with his daughter, Suri, but he decided not to. Yep, he did. Okay, so let's now jump over and talk about The Uglies. Can you tell me, can anybody who either read the book The Uglies or saw the movie on Netflix, can you put a 1 in the chat if you have, just so I can get a feel for it, because I'm not going to do any spoiler alerts, but this is fascinating to me. I read the book, oh gosh, years ago. I read the book when I was still in Scientology, but it was during my 2-year plan to depart Scientology. I think that's when I actually read it. And I remember reading this book thinking, whoa, this sounds like Scientology in ways, this desire to be perfect, this pretending to be perfect, or somehow altering people from who they are to be more somebody who is more robotic and in agreement and doesn't push back, basically not being themselves. And that's what this movie's about. We're going to look at a little bit of the trailer. Abraham, you saw it? Good. We can geek out together. And if you've not seen it, you guys might want to see it. Let's look quickly at the trailer, and then we're going to kind of get into what I see as some serious similarities to Scientology. Of course, some erasing happens, but you see the premise. You got to watch the movie, and we should talk about it after more of you have seen it too. But it blew I really enjoyed the movie, and I did read the book, and it really did remind me of that mindset of, well, just when I do my next step, things will be so much better. I'll be better and I'll be accepted, because, and this idea of just having to conform to an idea of what an ideal Scientologist looks like or acts like. I got in trouble in Scientology over and over again for what they called behavior unbecoming of an OT, of an operating thetan. They felt that because I had done pretty much most of Scientology's bridge to total freedom on the auditing side, that then gave them the power to dictate what I thought, how I behaved, who I spoke to, and how I live my life. And that is what happens in Scientology if you go along with that. And then at some point you wake up from that for whatever reason. For all of us, it was many different reasons. There are 100 different times I should have left Scientology. I would have had enough of a reason in that moment, 100 different times. Over 35 years, I'm not even exaggerating. It has to be at least that. But you don't. Multiple members of my family, multiple generations of my family were in it. I had to be willing to lose all of that. And it's kind of what this movie reminds me of. And yes, Laverne Cox kills it in this movie. Kills it. She did evil so good, right? Love me some Laverne Cox. She's evil in the movie. Yes. It was so good. I liked it. I'm getting like goosebumps on my legs just talking about it. I really liked it. I really liked it, but I'm curious to see what you guys think maybe after you see it there. And another Ron the Tax Evader. I like that one. Oh, that's so true. That's so true. Sparknell says, I made a comment on that video about how Emily makes it sound like the distant past when she went to court for Danny. I caused a lot of people to basically say it was a while ago. Let's move on. Well, it wasn't really that long ago. I think it was like 2 years ago at this point, but I can see how she'd want people to move on from it. And I do believe her when she says, hey, I went one time and I realized, no, that was a mistake. But there's still more that I think fans of Lincoln Park and other people want her to take responsibility for and really understand if she's going to be able to, is she going to promote the narrative and agenda of Scientology or of Lincoln Park? Because one thing I have come to learn through all of this news is how dedicated Lincoln Park fans are to the band, but also to almost their mission and their beliefs, and all based on what happened to Chester, who unalived himself. I totally get it. That makes so much more sense to me now, why they'd be upset about it, that Emily is a Scientologist. It's not just that she's a Scientologist. It's that by virtue of being in good standing with Scientology, you are basically supporting and giving a green light to the abuses that occur within it and the lack of mental health care. I did a video yesterday. I pulled out and did a standalone video about Whitney Mills, the Scientologist who reached operating Thetan level 8 and unalived herself in a gruesome and brutal way after asking for help over and over and over again. She was hallucinating. She was having severe mental health issues, and that was denied to her. She basically was told to get her TRs in, her training routine. Such a Scientology answer. It just kills me. It really does. All right, let's see here. Marfta, is Ellerate saying Zemu rather than Zenu? No, he says Zenu. He says Zenu, but it's hard to understand him sometimes. May the force be with you. TC's laugh on 2 times speed. Whoa, don't try it alone. Pippi Longstocking, Ron the Tax Evader, Ron the Pirate of the 7 Seas. Those would be good books and magazines about L. Ron Hubbard, for sure. For sure. That one we read. Just a Northern Girl. Considering the deep indoctrination, why do you think your mom didn't push back after you told her of your essay? Could your story have confirmed something she already knew from her experience? No, she did push back then. Oh, do you mean push back against me? Push back after you did, could your story have confirmed something she already knew from her experience? I get it now. Yes, but not necessarily her personally in terms of being a victim of SA in Scientology. But she was aware of other situations, and other things were happening with my mom in Scientology. She was on what's called operating Thetan level 7, where you're supposed to be auditing yourself every single day, getting rid of your body Thetans that are attached to you or miles away or on the moon. I'm not even joking. They could be on the moon. They could be across the planet. These body Thetans that are somehow still attached to you, and you got to get rid of them. There's a lot that happened to her on that level and at Flag in Scientology that started her pushback from it, including having to donate ridiculous amounts of money, including them taking money off of her account for books that she did not ask for and just shipping them to her. Just shipping, just debiting the money on her account and shipping her books that she never asked for. That is on the mild side of the things that were going on that led to her disagreements with Scientology. And she already had one daughter out. My sister left a long time ago, but stayed absolutely silent about it. But she's not anymore, as you guys can see, because I have her here on the channel sometimes. Yes, I do. Karen, I'm glad you made a live. You've been a longtime fan, rarely comment, finally made a live. Thank you for being here, Karen. I love it when people don't always comment, just jump in, jump in. We try to really live aloha here at Scientology Life After a Cult. You know, I'm here to expose Scientology, raise awareness about it, but it doesn't mean that we can't build community and have fun in the process, because I think that's necessary to really balance out the ick. Because let's be honest, growing up in Scientology and experiencing Scientology is not like, I wouldn't put that as in the best, you know, the best years of my life. No, the best years of my life have been since I've left Scientology. And I have had so much more healing happen since being here on YouTube with all of you and having the support of so many people never in Scientology, but all in on ending the cult. It's just amazing. And I appreciate all of you for that and this community. I'm so thankful that you're here. When you like these videos, when you subscribe, when you share these messages, some of you go out and protest. Some of you are doing things even from home that are still protesting Scientology and shining a light on this cult, including going to SPTV.SPACE and contacting your elected officials to find out where they stand on Scientology's tax exempt status. So there's just so many different ways to help and support with this, and I'm just incredibly thankful for those of you that continue to do that and commenting and giving your views. You guys have just helped me so much, even mentally, with everything that I'm still going through and processing, and I really appreciate it. You guys are just the best. Mad Drop Bear, we are so glad you left the cult, Nat. So brave. You're an inspo to a lot of people for sure. I appreciate that. I feel like a hot mess half the time. But I think it's important to share these stories. And I decided to come back and start speaking out against Scientology again. For me, just because it was time. I was just really realizing that I don't think I can go. You know, when my partner got sick, he went through a cancer battle for 3 years. And if you've been with my channel, you know he passed away 3 months ago. That really puts things in perspective. You know, when you think about what's important, damn it, and I don't know where the Kleenex is. It's been a while since I've cried on a video. It really helps put things in perspective for what is important to you. And for me, I realized that exposing Scientology and doing what I can to put an end to this is a worthwhile endeavor. And there are so many people that I have heard from since then, since I even started in December, who either newly left Scientology or under the radar Scientologists who, oh, this part really makes me cry because it's so true. What I hear from them is that they're amazed by how many of you are supporting us in this community, show up for the videos, are spreading these messages, are contacting your elected officials, all on our and their behalf. Gosh, when I think about how much you guys do, it makes me cry. I don't know what to say. And I know how important it was to my Tony. He knew how important it was to me. And we had so many conversations before he died about what would happen afterwards, on how I would get back, you know, on that horse and show up and do my videos, and that this community would be there to prop me up, which you guys literally have. Many of you and my friends in the community who have been there when it's been harder than other times. Yes, it's tears of gratitude. I'm just blown away by it. Oh, so I won't belabor that too much. I just thank you. You guys are amazing. And I appreciate you being here for me and for everybody. Absolutely. Thank you so much, me and Taz. Ah. Kathy says, you will never know how much you do for and help this community, Natalie. Even us never ends. You are heard, seen, mattered, and loved. I appreciate that. And it's kind of funny because I feel like it's you guys are doing, I show up and talk about what I talk about, and we go over these stories and we discuss them. And you guys are here for it, and I'm here for it. And I appreciate every single one of you who shows up to watch, likes the video, or subscribes. It all helps. It does. And it really helps me to be able to come on every day and work to expose Scientology. For me, that has been such a light. It is genuinely one of my most favorite things to do. It is not a chore for me to do this. It really isn't. It helps. It gives me an outlet for a lot and a focus that is positive to put some of that energy into. And to be able to have this community and do it just makes it all worthwhile. And the more I hear from people who are leaving and how much they appreciate it, that gets me. That's, I hope that some of them one day, might decide to share their story and their thoughts on this, because I hear it from them and how much it means to them to see, because there's a lot of people who are lurking, but they see the chat and they see the support. So your words matter, because you just don't know who's watching it. Somebody who could be on the fence about Scientology and just see how many of you support ex-Scientologists and exposing Scientology. So please do keep it up. I appreciate you guys so much. And thank you for not going anywhere, me and Taz. Keep it all coming, everybody. That is what I have for you for now. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And everybody, I hope you all get out today and have an amazing cult-free day.